We're recording,
we can
brother.
go back.
We are officially recording.
Listen, this is before we even started the interview. I was getting set up. I had everything layered. It was fine. I had my phone leaning up against an empty bottle with my glass of whiskey underneath. All of a sudden, I get a text. It slips, and I'm greeted with this. My favorite glass. This is my favorite drinking glass full of whiskey. Smashed. Smashed! This is how I'm starting this interview. I want you to know that.
Oh, no. So this wasn't how I expected to start this episode, everybody, but oh, man. Welcome to the Big Ben and Friends podcast, everybody. I'm Big Ben Ortmanns, and this week – are you all right, buddy?
Glass off my floor. Sorry.
Oh, no. That's okay. This week, I'm going to be getting to know one of my friends from the pro wrestling business. This man is a fucking monster, and as you could tell, factions have noticed this. You all probably know this man from his time in NXT in the faction Sanity, and obviously from absolutely killing it in Impact Wrestling this past year and a half as part of OVE, and he's fresh off this incredible showing off the Impact Wrestling #1 Contenders Tournament. And personally, my favorite stat about this guy that a lot of people don't know is that he's also a former Greco-Roman All-American and also a two-time NCAA All-American Amateur Wrestler from the University of Ashland. And he's genuinely one of my favorite human beings on this entire fucking planet. Everybody welcome my friend Madman Fulton. How are you, sir? Other than pissed off about your glass.
That's all I've ever gotten.
Oh, thanks, man.
There's glass and liquor everywhere. Oh.
So we started this by catching up a little before we hit the record button, and we were enjoying a glass. We start the podcast off by making sure that we have something in our cups and that we're it's basically shooting the shit with one of our boys. You know, this isn't supposed to be a normal podcast. So I was about to ask what you have in your glass, but your glass is broke. Oh, man. Oh, poor brother.
My cat's trying to drink it. It's all gone to hell, Ben.
Well, hopefully it can only go up from here. Do you at least have a backup? Do you want to go get something else? Are you good?
I'm down to Kettle One Peach and Orange Blossom. So,
right out of the bottle.
I don't have a drinking glass anymore.
All right, we're going gangster, everybody. Well, everybody, again, welcome my friend Madman Fulton. He has been very nice enough to want to do this. He actually messaged me as soon as I even put anything up on social media that I was starting this. He basically told me straight up that he was going to be a guest, and I had to have Alessandro Del Bruno as my first just because he's been the first of everything else, but I'm very, very happy to have Madman Fulton on today. And Fulton, the first question I've got to ask you is just because the whole premise of this entire podcast that I wanted to do anyway was to get to know my friends a little bit better just because, you know, obviously at shows and stuff like that, we're busy working and we don't typically get to catch up. I mean, you and me do for the most part, and we pretty much talk at least once a week anyway, but how do you remember how you and me became friends in the first place?
So you kind of preempted me a little bit, and I saw the other interview, so I knew you were going to ask this question, and I meant to be thinking about it. But I think the first time we met was at an Impact taping, was it not?
In Windsor, yes.
Yeah, and damn, I don't remember how we ended up having a conversation about anything.
So maybe I can kind of maybe I could spark this for you. I just remember walking around and I was just kind of looking for something to do, and all of a sudden I just remember walking past you and I was just like, who the fuck is that guy? Because I didn't know, I hadn't seen you around before, but you just looked familiar to me. And then all of a sudden it was like literally 2 seconds later, you and me just ended up standing in the exact same place. And it was kind of like just one of those, well, might as well just strike up a conversation. And then next thing I know, you and me ended up sitting there talking at the there was like this little barricade where like where the seats were and stuff like that. And then you and me just ended up talking for almost like 2 hours, it felt like. And then it was just one of those like, I think I just found like one of my new best friends. Like, holy fuck, like this guy just walked into my fucking life and this dude's awesome.
I remember when we first started talking that we ended up bullshitting for like 2 hours and I was late for some pre-shoot I had to do. Remember that. I think that's the weekend they wanted to lock me in the cage for one of the promos, which was awful.
You know, I want to say that this was, I think this was one of your first tapings, because if I remember correctly, this was where you came out and you beat up Swan.
I came out, I debuted in Vegas beating up Swan, and I think this would have been the tapings right after that.
Okay, yes. Okay, so yeah, this was your second set of tapings. So you hadn't even been on TV yet, technically. I think that's why maybe I didn't even know that you were there.
And if I was, I debuted like the week before, so like nobody would have known.
Right. And you know, I think one of the biggest reasons why we got along so well is because when you were telling me who you were, and I was just like, oh yeah, fuck you. Wait, you were Insanity with my buddy Eric Young. And Eric Young was one of the guys that I like genuinely looked up to when I first started getting into the business. Like when I went to my first indie show, I think he was there and I was just like, holy shit, this is like the indie Shawn Michaels. Like, how the fuck is this guy not on TV? And then thankfully I ended up becoming friends with him over the years, and he ended up taking me under his wing a little bit just because he saw that I was a hardworking guy, but maybe I kind of started out in maybe a misguided training school, and he thought that maybe I could be doing better for myself. But him and I got along really well. And then once I found out that you were with him and that you were part of the Sanity group, I was just, it was almost like osmosis. I was like, okay, not only is this guy dope, but like he was in with like one of the guys that helped me, like, you know, kind of really understand the business at that time when I was really young. What was it like working with him, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, like, so the coolest thing, like working with Eric, especially at that time, was, you know, I was way younger, and being part of WWE, like, sometimes everything you say gets thrown under the rug. People don't always, you know, take your advice because you haven't really brought anything to them yet. You haven't offered any money. It always feels like anything you say isn't good enough, or you know, you're walking on eggshells. Whether that's, you know, real or not, like that's how I felt at the time. So when Eric came in, Wolf and I had all these ideas for just different, like the music and how we should be shown and everything. And Eric didn't question any of it, took it straight to Hunter and said, this is what I want, this is what we need. Like, I've talked it over with the guys, and forced Hunter's hand. The first music they gave to us was just the bass line. There was nothing else. It was just that ba 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 ba, nothing, no kicks, guitar, nothing. And like Wolf and I like fought to get everything put in, and like we remixed it with more and more stuff and just had Eric send it. And then Hunter put helicopters on it. So
was that I don't even, because you and me have never talked about this. So I think that the typical, what most people think about Sanity and what you kind of hear about Sanity, at least on the sheets or whatever, is that was entirely Hunter's baby. So was it not? Like, did you guys have a lot more input than what people think?
It started out, they wanted it to be me, Marcus Louis, and Sammy Callahan.
Can I ask who Marcus Louis is? I don't mean any disrespect to him.
He was part of a French tag team with Sylvester Lefort for a while in NXT. That match where Sylvester Lefort versus Enzo Amore, the hair versus hair match, and they had like the big bucket of chemical, right? They dropped that on Marcus's head, and he goes permanently bald. That was like his biggest thing from like NXT. Okay. And then he was in a faction with under Al Snow in Impact like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Really like awesome guy, just one of those that like, you know, couldn't figure out a way to break out. The same as I was in NXT. Like it's hard to find that lane and find that angle sometimes. But it's supposed to be the three of us, And in the
So
more
was Sammy supposed to be the leader?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But what started happening with it all was it quickly became like Sammy and the two guys with Sammy. Like, it wasn't like we were a group. Like, OVE was awesome because it was a group. Sanity was a group. We there's the leader, but other members still mattered.
Right.
They were trying to make it to where only Sammy mattered, and we were nothing but pawns in front of them. Like, they wanted to change my name to Critter. And I told them after. Yeah. No, just Critter. No other, just Critter.
What the fuck?
And of course, and at the time, it's obviously a huge push for Sammy. He doesn't really see what's going on to the two of us. But at the same time, we're both kind of pissed off that everything's going to go for Sammy, who's legitimately one of my best friends.
Uh-huh.
And they were giving everything to him, and we were just getting poo-pooed on. And we started tanking it. We started doing shit opposite of Sammy. Like, we started taking the reins and just doing what we wanted to do. And it led to fights with Sammy. That's one of the main reasons he quit, was Sammy and I pretty much got in a fist fight because we were so mad at each other. And I think that was the point he realized, this company's making me fight my best friend. Why the fuck am I going to be here? What am I doing?
Wow.
And I think that was a moment for him to open up his eyes of I can do better than this.
So was this something that was just being done on live events?
Yeah. We appeared on a few live events. We did some cool vignettes. Just nothing that ever took off because we could never get on the same page.
Man, that's a crazy story. I've never heard that before.
Sammy quit, and then the next week Marcus was fired. So I went by myself for a little bit, and 2 months later, the Hype Bros, Authors of Pain were supposed to wrestle the Hype Bros on a live event, but one of them was hurt or not feeling good or something. So they put me and Alexander Wolf together, and he and I have been boys. I was one of the first people to really start talking to him when he moved over from Germany. And we just started dicking around and just having fun. In our minds, it's we're here to do, the business for the Hype Bros. Might as well have a good time doing it. And we walk in the back, and fucking Norman Smiley looks at me. He's like, this is really fucking good. And I'm like, Norman, you've seen what happens to me in tag teams. Don't wish that evil on Alexander Wolf, man. He's a good dude. You're going to get him fired putting him with me. Which, he didn't understand that I was making a joke at my own expense because he still was dealing with English, and he thought I didn't like him at first. And it took me a minute to explain, oh, no, I'm just saying I have a bad track record, apparently.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got the news about Eric, and Nikki was added on as last minute as you can possibly get.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool how it all just kind of spiraled into this crazy little faction.
Yeah, that's a crazy story, man. I had no idea. So, it's funny that WWE almost, in a weird way, kind of played with the whole OVE thing before OVE was even OVE.
It's what OVE was exactly what I wanted that group to be. I wanted to be a unit. I wanted to be good. I wanted to be viewed as obviously, you have a leader, he's going to be doing more of the speaking parts. That's cool, that's fine. Nobody wants to hear a big guy speak. I get it. But it's just, I don't know. I care about myself a lot. I have a lot of pride in my work and, what I do. And I felt like I've been working too hard to be named Critter and stuffed in the back.
Fucking Critter. That's going to, oh my God. You should put that T-shirt out on Pro Wrestling Tees if anybody watches this.
This was right before Joe Belcastro became the head writer at NXT.
Uh-huh.
He came up to me. He's like, "Hey, how do you feel about the name Critter?" And I looked at him I will literally quit this business before you change my name to Critter.
Oh my God.
Okay, and he turned and walked off. So that was the end of that.
Oh, dude, I'm so happy that you were not named Critter, because
Oh,
that'd be a hard one to look you in the eye. Holy fuck. But so overall, I guess before I move on to my next question, so Eric Young was a good dude to work with, I guess, overall for you.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He did everything easy. He would talk like one of the coolest parts is like he's a total in-ring general, and I know that we're keeping this a little lighthearted between us and maybe break a little bit of the old kayfabe, but
Mm-hmm.
to have him on the apron like was wonderful. I didn't think for a second, if I did anything even slightly wrong, he was correcting me before I even did it. I spent 16 years as an amateur wrestler. I
Mm-hmm.
watch people's hip naturally because that's the easiest way to tell where someone's moving. And so I have a tendency to always look down, and just to hear him like right in my ear, heads up, heads up, heads up, stand up straight, go here, use this move. We had a 6-man tag in oh Ocala, Florida. It was like outside behind a hotel. It was humid and sweaty and awful. And it was me, Wolf, and Eric Young versus Oni Lorcan, Biff Busick,
Nice. I love
Bill,
Biff.
one Rich Swann, and Shinsuke Nakamura. And
Get the fuck
just,
out of
dude, just went out there and just listened and tore down and just had fun. We're sweating our freaking balls off because it's just so damn hot outside in Florida. And it was some of the most fun I'd had in NXT to that point. It also resulted in probably my favorite Rich Swann moment of all time.
Which is?
Uh, so we're going, we're starting to run the heat on Swann. We got him separated out. We're beating him up. And I pick him off the mat. I do this normally. I'll grab people by the back of their trunks and then by their head, right? And I picked him up and I threw him in our corner. And I'm doing my shit, changing my gear. He's like, give me a second. I'm like, let the ref count to 4. And he looks up, like, as I'm hitting him, still selling too, but he's not breaking eye contact with me. Drops the loudest N-bomb I could possibly tell you in the ring, followed by my ass is all the way out. And I had to stop and go back across the ring because I was burying my face laughing at him. I watched Eric walk down the apron, so I knew he heard it too. And just, dog, he was so loud with it, man. Like,
Swann's such a gangster, man. I love that guy.
it caught me huge. And as soon as I turned around, nobody even noticed. He just picks his wedgie and goes back to what he's doing.
Which is funny because I'm wearing my Sue Young hat, and I don't know if you can see, but I've actually got my Rich Swann
Hell yeah!
pin on the hat too, because they actually both gave me those as a gift when they came down to work for me. So this is like one of my favorite items that I got. But I will finish off the whole Eric Young thing by just saying real quickly that I saw that vignette that Impact dropped with all of these guys that potentially might be coming back for Slammiversary. And when I saw that, I will say that the first thing that I thought of as soon as I saw that was I was just like, please do something with you two. Like, if that would be the coolest thing. And to finish that off, Eric Young has literally been my dream match since the time that I started wrestling, and I never got that opportunity. I think by the time that maybe I was good enough to even have that match, he was gone, and he had already started with TNA, and his career essentially had kind of already taken off. But now that he's a free agent, I've made it very clear that I want Eric Young in a match before I decide to hang the boots up and whatnot. And I think that for both of our sake, I think that would be very cool for the both of us to eventually get that match. Now, again, one of the biggest reasons. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I honestly have no idea if he's coming to Impact or not. Like, I don't know any of that stuff going on with other people's contracts. But I've always felt like people. I feel like there's still some people who would tune into that match just to see what finally happened with a storyline that was just thrown out so long ago. And not to mention, like, I've never wrestled against him either. We've only ever been a tag team or working together.
Mm-hmm.
Never been in the ring across from him. And just knowing his work rate and stuff, it's like you said, it's just a guy that I think I'd have a really good matchup with.
And that's something that could be done correctly with Impact, because obviously there's a lot more freedom there, and plus Scott D'Amore knows who the fuck Eric Young is and what he's capable of. So if that was a thing, that potential really, really excites me as a fan to sit there and watch. But again, one of the biggest reasons why I kind of wanted to start this podcast there, brother, was to get to know my friends better. And again, like I was mentioning before, it can be hard to kind of catch up at shows just because we're there working, and life can be a little bit chaotic. But you're one of the guys that I stay in touch with on a very consistent basis. So I feel like I know you a little bit better than I do most. But maybe for those who don't know you as well as I've gotten to know you, tell me a little bit about yourself that maybe people may not know, because I think people just see this guy that is, this big guy on TV, talented dude, lots of potential, but I don't think people know the man. And I think that's one of the most fascinating things about you is, like, once people get to know who the man is, you're one of the most fascinating guys in this business.
I appreciate that. Man, like, I don't know. I talk about, Fulton so much on these things. Like, it's hard for me to break down, like, who Jacob is.
Mm-hmm.
And
so,
I think it's also weird for a lot of people too, because I'm not, like, as big and as crazy and, like, weird as I look. I feel like people are thrown off by my voice and by the fact that I'm not an absolute terrible maniac asshole to everybody.
No, outside the ring, you're literally the epitome of the word gentle giant. Like, you're a fucking great guy. Like, and you go out of your way for, like, and I know this just because I'm your friend, but, like, you will literally do anything for any of your buddies. Like, anybody that you genuinely give a shit about, like, you are there for anything, and I can vouch for that. So
I've always felt like I'm a even though it is currently illegal in Ohio, I'm a big advocate of the usage of herbal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of laid me back a little bit and kind of made me sit down and realize, especially from my younger days and, like, who I was, like, you don't have to be big and in people's faces to get what you want all the time. You don't have to be a bully. You don't have to be a dick to force your way through. Like, when you start being nice to people, the world returns it back to you, tenfold. And not only that, but I'm also a guy who I respect someone until you lose respect.
Totally get that. I'm the same way.
And I know a lot of people are different, and it's cool. Like, I know a lot of people, you don't get respect until you earn it. But in my mind, like, I'm going to consider you a good person until you prove me otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've always felt that you're going to get farther in life being good people than not. And it's taken a few years into my career, but a lot of that, it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main reasons I got a job at Impact, I was straight up told this by Tommy Dreamer. He said, I've never been to a locker room where someone's talked bad behind your back. Everyone that I likes you. And that's when I started realizing, like, being a generally nice person's actually starting to get me somewhere. Like, you don't have to be an asshole to rise in this business. Like, good shit comes to those who work hard and try for it.
Yeah, I learned that too, man. Like, I when I first started, because like I started a little bit before you, obviously, and I was kind of in that old guard where, the whole kayfabe thing was still really protected, and, having to kind of have this shield around you was almost important. And I think the more that I grew into the business and the more that I started to grow up as a man, it dawned on me. I was just like, man, that shield is such bullshit. Like, I mean, just be good to everybody. I don't need to be that guy. I don't need to prove to anybody how tough I am, because if I need to prove to anybody how tough I am, I'll be happy to. Like, there's ways to do that. And I'm not that guy that's ever going to back down from a fight from fucking anybody. So I don't have, when you realize that about yourself, because I know that you're the exact same way. I think that once you realize that about yourself, there's really nothing that nobody can do to fuck with you. So it's just a lot easier to be good to people.
Yeah, like, and it honestly is. And in the end of the day, it makes me a happier person too. I don't really worry about drama or bullshit from anybody else. Like, I wrestle and I'm this big violent dude because I want to come home and work on my yard and play with my dog. And I want to lead a good life, but I also want to be a pro wrestler. And I think that you can do both of those things without contradicting each other.
I completely agree with that, which actually kind of leads me into, my next question, which do you remember what it was that initiated the spark that made you actually want to follow through with becoming a wrestler? Just because, a lot of people want to do it, and when they see it on TV, everybody wants to do shit. Everybody thinks that they can just do stuff. Fucking CM Punk thought that he could fight people, and he had the balls to step in and do it, mind you. You know what I mean? And I will always fucking respect that. He twice. Fuck anybody who says a bad thing about him. He had the balls to step in. So that's kind of where this question. That's where this question kind of leads in. Like, getting into the wrestling business, everybody wants to do, but having the balls and like having that like thing that sets you to kind of actually follow through with it is a whole other thing. Like, what made you follow through with it?
See, that's a cool question, because the normal one I get is like, what made you want to be a pro wrestler? But
I don't give a fuck about that, because we all wanted to get into it because we wanted to be Hulk Hogan.
Time where you actually just commit to fucking doing it, which is cool. Like, I haven't been asked that question in a while. So I started wrestling in 2010 is when I started training. I was in college. I was part of my college wrestling team. My freshman year, it took all the way to the end of the year to get the starting spot, but I ended up picking it up, and I wrestled the last matches, and I went like 8-8. So I didn't have a very long season at all. And then my sophomore year, I got hurt, but came back the same season as the starter, and I ended up going 16-16. And in my mind, I was sitting there, I'm like, well, fuck, like, I've had 2 500 years in a row. Like, I think I'm about as good at amateur wrestling as I'm going to get. Like, I don't know if I'm too tall compared to other guys or lanky. It wasn't clicking in my mind for some reason. I was working hard. It just wasn't there. I wasn't putting it all together for some reason. So in my mind, like, that was the moment I counted amateur wrestling out. Like, I was done. And I'm like, I'm going to keep doing it to help pay for college, but that's it.
But you'd kind of already checked out, obviously.
Yeah, right. And so I was sitting there, I'm like, well, fucking, this would be a great time to start pro wrestling, because, why not? I might as well set up. It's what I want to do. And I looked up Al Snow's school first, because he had one in Lima, like Body Slam U or something.
Yep.
I actually was like 2-3 hours away from where I lived, and I looked it up, but I think it just closed down like right before I wanted to go.
Funny story about that. Before I even started training, I had actually messaged Al Snow about going to his school in Lima, Ohio. There was 2 guys who I had sent these like really heartfelt messages to, but when I was like 14, I sent one to him and I sent one to Ron Hutchison, and I was like, I remember telling them how proud I was going to make them and just like all this other horse shit. But that's just really funny. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
No, you just reminded me. When I was 14, I messaged John Cena on MySpace, and he wrote me back.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Please tell me he wrote back. Did he write back?
No, yeah, he responded to it.
Get out of here! What did he say?
Like, keep following your dreams, like, stay hard, like da. Like, he could have easily have like copy and pasted it from the thousands of people who messaged him about wanting to be a pro wrestler, but he took the time to copy and paste it. So you know what? Fuck it.
You got a message from John Cena on fucking MySpace is literally the coolest story I think I've ever heard in wrestling.
MySpace.com/FatChamp77. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, so speaking about getting into wrestling, I guess, I do feel like,
Back to where we were.
yeah. I do feel like we have that moment when like we begin to chase our dreams, but realize a couple things, that it's way harder than you originally thought it was going to be, and that it isn't what you thought it was going to be like. I think all of us hit those walls and we get dejected and we question what the fuck we're even doing there, just because, again, like it is nothing like you think it's going to be when you start doing it. So what was the biggest obstacle for you when you first started, and how did you overcome that?
Well, so it's funny. The biggest obstacle I had is because I was still wrestling in college at the time. I started training at a little school called ASWA under Jimmy Lee. Awesome school, awesome trainer, by the way, if anybody in Ohio is looking. And, I started training, and I stayed in the dorms. And I bought out one of the dorms. It was like $500 for the summer, but there's like no AC and like nothing cool about it. And then I spent all my money training there and then working a part-time job. And I loved it. I loved every second, bumping, moving. Like, I'm an athletic individual, like, so getting ready and all the stuff it takes to train, like, I fucking love it. I was addicted to it, every single little thing. And then wrestling season came back around the next year, and my coach asked me about it. He's like, have you been, I saw you did like a pro wrestling match and whatever. Like, yeah, it's just something I've been trying for my whole life, and I finally decided to pull the trigger and do it. And he looks at me, he's like, listen, he's like, I'm fine with it, but if the NCAA ever calls you out for making money off of wrestling, I'm throwing you under the bus. I will not take that hit for you.
Yeah, that's a big no-no.
You should not. Like, that's not your responsibility as a coach. But it was cool that he knew that was my dream, and he let me go do it anyways,
Yeah. He gave you the rope to hang yourself.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But so I'd been working out all summer and doing all this extra stuff and learning different wrestling techniques without realizing it. My junior year, I ended up going 37-4 and taking 4th in the nation. And that's like all of a sudden, like, oh shit, like now I'm good at amateur wrestling too. Like, that wasn't in my plans. I didn't think I was going to get better at that because of pro wrestling, and it happened. So now I have to hide it from the NCAA that I'm getting money for matches. Yeah. I can't wrestle during wrestling season, but I wrestle afterwards. And it was just a big, like, you're trying to get your name out there and get experience, but you can't get your name out there to get experience.
Now, what do you think was the correlation that maybe helped you between those two? And I'm genuinely curious about that now. Do you think that the pro wrestling training, maybe just like with the footwork and just like the way that like you explode with your hips, maybe showed you a different side for the amateur wrestling that maybe helps you with that, you think? Or
I think I really strengthened up like my arches for throwing, and I think it's just, I don't know, maybe it is that extra work, learning how to walk in that ring. Everything extra I was doing, because at the time, I was working out every single day otherwise too.
Right.
And it was my roommate. I lived in the dorm with another guy who's currently a pro MMA fighter trying to get into the UFC. And
okay. What's his name? Let's put him over.
What's that?
What's his name? Let's put him over. Fuck it.
Adley Sunshine Edwards. If you look him up, he's a fighter out of North Carolina now.
Okay.
Like great finishing power, but he's just one of those guys that, like, I don't think he has any tendons in his body, and he's just kind of noodly. And so, like, I'd watch people, like, we'd spar, like, he's 155 pounds. I was probably about 240, 250 at the time. I'd shoot in, grab an ankle, and this dude could just step, keep my foot, and then arch backwards and grab my own, and, like, all of a sudden it becomes a struggle.
It's funny.
Want to look up his stuff, like, it's really cool.
I totally will, actually, after we're done this interview. But that's one thing I've always found really funny when bigger guys, they're just like, like, for example, the whole Drew McIntyre thing with Colby Covington, when he's just like, hey, listen, like, I get that you're a pro MMA fighter, but you're also like this size. and I'm Drew McIntyre. And when you hear that, you're just like, okay, I get that from your perspective, but you also don't understand that that is a very uneducated thing to say. Because when at the MMA gym that I trained at, do you know who Mark Hominick is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It was the owner of the Adrenaline Training Center, still is. And I remember when I first started at the Adrenaline Training Center training, I was 280 pounds. Mark Hominick fought in the UFC at 145 pounds. So if you want to do the math, I'm literally twice this man's fucking size. This dude could have made me eat my fucking lunch at the snap of a fucking finger. And you know what I could have done about it? Not a fucking thing. So for anybody that thinks that size is like an actual important thing, like it can be if you know how to use it and you have the skill to back it up. But fuck me, when you put those,
no. I was gonna say, you remember El Torito?
Hell yeah.
From WWE?
Yeah.
Masquerita Dorada.
Had one of the best fucking ladder matches I've ever seen.
Yo, like, and Masquerita is fucking amazing. Like, he's a great dude. When he first was coming in, like, he was training in NXT and stuff. And I was learning Spanish at the time because I'm really good friends with Del Rio's little brother, Hijo de dos Caras.
Okay.
And so, but he was the only other guy who spoke Spanish. So Masquerita would hang out with us, and like we'd do like car rides and stuff because like I spoke a little Spanish and just trying to make him feel at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were wrestling around before one of the shows, and like I'm a great base for him. I love throwing him and catching him, and like it's great. We work really well together. But we were messing around, and I got into a real wrestling stance with him, and we shot around a little bit. And I put my hand on his forehead, you know, because he's just so small. And it was funny. This little motherfucker locks my wrist into place and uses his head and his body and cranks my wrist to where I'm down on my knee trying to relieve the pressure because it hurts so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And literally he let go and he just goes like that. Like, you piece of shit. Like, how dare you? Like,
dude,
like,
and
yeah, I know. If you ever get in a fight, like, I'm going to kick your ass, but like, you fucking got me. You got me. I can't say anything about it.
Yeah, dude. There are some human beings that are just different than most. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that like all, you know, smaller fighters can do, you know, the same thing that Mark Hominick can do, because that guy is they literally call him the fucking machine, and it's for a reason, you know. But like one of the joys that I used to get out of working at Adrenaline was you used to see a lot of athletes that would come into London, because that's where the Adrenaline Training Center is. London, Ontario there's a college and a university. So there's a lot of athletes that roll through London, right? A lot of these guys were especially at the time, they used to come in and they were just like, they were kind of like me. When I first walked into the Adrenaline Training Center, I remember going down there like when it first started, and I knew walking down there that I was never going to, you know, beat these guys up. But, you know, having a pro wrestling background, I was like, maybe I can hang with them because, like, you know, I can take a punch and whatever. And then as soon as I walked through those front doors, it was actually Mark Hominick that was sitting there hitting pads with boxing coach, and it fucking sounded like a goddamn machine gun, and like it sounded like a war zone was going off in this gym, and it was just this dude hitting pads. And I literally just remember sitting there laughing like, okay, yeah, you just teach me what you know, because I apologize for even having this thought in my head that you didn't even know about. Like, I
apologize for thinking I might be able to stand with you.
Yep. I almost wanted to legit apologize for thoughts that he never knew that I had in the first place. But, and again, I'm not saying that's everybody, but holy fuck, there are some guys that you just, you know, do not want to mess with. El Torito was, sorry, that was, sorry, what was his other name again? The other name that, yes. So he was legit one of my favorite.
Also the bunny on Lucha Underground.
Was he really?
I think so.
So I remember Masquerita Sagrada when I was younger growing up, because like he had a WWF stint at the time. And I just remember thinking like, holy shit, like this is one of my favorite wrestlers, because that dude could go. So like the fact that you got to even amateur wrestle him a little bit is just mind blowing to me.
Oh, he was also the little caveman dude in Nacho Libre that beat up Jack Black.
Was he really?
Yeah, you know the little demon wrestlers?
Yeah.
One of those.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's a dope little dude, man. I love him.
So with all that being said, what was your first real like aha moment with wrestling? Like, what was it that clicked in your head that made you realize that, again, because when you start, there's a lot of self-doubt, there's a lot of questioning yourself. What was it that made you feel like you truly belonged and that you started to finally build that confidence that you're just like, this is what I'm doing for a living and I'm going to be good at this?
What's funny about that is that didn't come for a long, long time in my career. I'll be the first to admit I had a lot of lucky breaks early on. Mm-hmm. I know that my size and my look draws a lot of attention. It definitely would draw the attention of WWE, but I'm also like this, and I don't mind sharing. I fucking love to work hard at what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I bust my ass. I bust my ass for every little bit. And, I get a lot of guys that are like, oh, you only get so far because you're big. No, motherfucker, people see me because I'm big. I get far because I work harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
And so, I right out of college, I went to NXT.
I was going to say, how long was it, once you started training that you actually ended up with NXT? How did that whole thing come about?
They signed me out of national tournament my senior year.
So that you
I graduated in May, had my tryout in June, was signed in September.
Who recruited you?
Jerry Briscoe.
So he saw you.
I can send you the picture in a little bit. I'm pale white, 285, and standing with Briscoe after my last amateur wrestling match ever.
Please do, because I'm going to use that picture to promote this whole podcast and just make people wonder what the fuck I even posted.
I forget.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, send that to me after we're done.
Okay. But I was coming off the mat. I hugged my coach because my career's over. I hugged my mom because she's fucking everywhere all the time, and refused to let me wrestle without her watching.
Yeah.
Love her. And then I'm standing there catching my breath because I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. And Briscoe walks up to me and I'm half doubled over, and he's like, and I knew he was there too. That's the other thing, because he's sitting by my mom. And,
oh, nice.
Well, my mom doesn't know who fucking Jerry Briscoe is. You
right.
know?
Yeah. Why would she?
But I do, and now I'm trying to make the connection. Why does my mom know who Jerry Briscoe is? And then he ended up just sitting there to watch me wrestle and didn't know he was sitting next to my mom.
Right.
But he comes over and he looks. He's like, hey man, really good job. You really busted your ass in this whole tournament. Thank you, sir. He's like, so do you know who I am? Yeah. It's do you know what I want? I'm fucking hope so. And then he's like, here's my card. Call me. I'll meet in the hotel bar. And I got offered a tryout drinking beers with Jerry Briscoe in Colorado.
My brother once told me that business gets done at the bar. So that's actually really funny that
all the best things happen over a 3-foot piece of mahogany.
Yeah.
But to what you were asking, the moment where it really clicked in my mind.
Yeah, where did it click?
So when I got released from NXT, mm-hmm. was awful. I hated it. I hated myself. I tried, and it just sucks because you try so hard. And the fact is, there's just not enough room for everybody. And it doesn't matter how hard you work. At the end of the day, they got to make money,
Right.
We're products on a shelf. I've always said you can be the biggest, juiciest steak on the shelf, but if there's a vegan doing the shopping, you're not going to get bought, plain and simple.
100%. And this is something too that I think that people don't know. And please feel free to let me know. I can cut this if you need be. But what people don't know is that you had a weird situation with your release because you got told that you had X amount of days left.
Yeah, when I came back from my injury, I dropped, I think, close to 35 pounds, and I came back 2 months early.
Right.
And when I was finally cleared, I was pulled into an office with Hunter and Bloom, and they literally said, like, we had every plan to fire you the day you got cleared, but to fire you after everything you've done would be a fucking insult to what this PC stands for. It would be an insult to wrestlers everywhere. Like, you've worked your ass off. Like, you know, you have 6 months. Find something, anything, figure it out. I lost another 20 pounds. I started taking acting classes on my own. I was turning in pitches every single week, literally like 2 to 10 pitches every single week of different, like joining Sanity, going against Sanity, nothing to do with Sanity, new names, you fucking name it. Another piece of glass I stepped on. Like, and I got to a point where, like, I think they were just getting annoyed with how many I was turning in. And I wrote this pitch that ended with me coming back, getting a feud with Killian Dane, only for us to find out that we hated each other and beat each other up so much because we were actually in love. And then we would become the first ever NXT gay tag team champions. And then, and I'm not kidding you, this included a 10-minute segment of in-depth, like, fan fiction level makeouts, just because I wanted someone to read it and go, what the fuck are you thinking? And I showed it to Killian too, and he looked at me, he's like, if they go with this, you understand I'm committing. I'm like, bro, you don't think I'll fucking make out with you, big beard ass? Like, bro!
I didn't think that's what you were gonna say.
So I turned it in and nobody responded. And I had about 2 months left of my 6 months. And I went to Steve Carino and I told him what was going on. And I said, I'm going to quit tomorrow. Just, to let you know, like, thank you for all your help. Thank you for everything you've done to help me. I'm going to ask for my release tomorrow, because if they're not saying anything to that, then my last 2 months here are just going to be me collecting a paycheck. And why? Why? I'm not here for money. I'm here because I love professional wrestling. I mean, the money's great.
Sure.
But, it was that. And we sat down. I sat with Steve in the ring by ourselves for about an hour. Just had a whole talk with him. And he basically said, like, work these last 2 months out. Exhaust every last option. Because if you get fired from here, at least you'll do it knowing it's on them. And, and he's the one who told me that state comparison too. And I like, that was real eye-opening for me. And I, like, now I respect it for it, but at the time, like, those last 2 months were shit. To go in every day knowing that your hard work's not going to go anywhere, it's soul crushing, dude.
I get it.
And then, on top of that, like, there's a ton of personal shit going on in my life. I just found out that the girl that I've been dating for 6 years, who I had an engagement ring in a safe under my bed, I found out that when I got hurt, she started having a relationship with another dude. And I didn't find it out until, like, months down the line. So, like, now I'm dealing with the fact that I'm going to get fired from my dream job in WWE. I got that clinging on, and just seemed like everything was just taking cuts into my life. And it was fucking rough, man. And I got to a point where I just didn't care. Like, I was doing indie shows, but I was doing them because, like, wrestling's all I know. Yeah. I was bouncing. I was working at a private zoo that I was quickly falling in love with. And I didn't have, like, that passion for wrestling was just out of me. I was going through the motions. And then I had a match. I was running as champion for my home promotion, ASWA. I was traveling from Florida to Ohio to do the shows, and I had a Texas strap match with a real green kid, awesome kid. Like, if he commits to wrestling and puts both his fucking feet in, is going to be amazing. His name's Robbie Collins, and we had this Texas strap match, and I remember he started wanting to call stuff. He's like, I watched all these matches, like all this stuff, and he showed me clips of like spots that he wants to do, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, that fucking used to be me. I used to fucking show all those spots and stuff, and I kind of broke down. I stopped talking to him, and I just went off.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm like, we're gonna be strapped together at the wrist. He can't be further than 5 feet away from me, so like I can call this to him, whatever. I don't need this, whatever. And I literally went and just sat in a corner and like started asking myself, like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, why does any of this fucking matter? Like, the guy, like, trust me, like, I was in a bad place in my life, man. And we go out, and I've always gotten a good reaction there. Like, I was the most over heel, and he was the most over face, and like they start cheering, like, okay, we started off with the shit. I pull the fucking strap, he goes flying, they're reacting, and I threw him over the edge. I threw him over the top rope and something, and he caught it just perfectly where the strap started strangling him like a noose over the ropes. And I watched people start standing up and get closer, and like, it starts bubbling in me a little bit, and you start feeling like, as much as I do, like, you start feeling it, you start getting in the motion, and like I was basically crying in the locker room by myself, and now I'm starting to feel it, and I bend him over this guardrail in front of just this whole family, and I take that strap and just wham, and just to hear that crowd react, and like they're starting to get into it more and more, and I'm just calling shit like on the fly, none of it fucking planned, just whatever he had shown me. And like we're starting to brawl out in the crowd and like just fighting through people, and like now they're all following us around. And I go, and I was gonna throw them onto all my merch because I had all my merch on my own table, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna slam them through my own merch and see if anybody comes over here and buys my shit,
Sure.
And as I'm doing it, I see his dad sitting in the back corner up on the bleachers, and I'm just like, well, shit, like, when in Rome, you're not gonna fucking this and not expect me to fucking take it. And I lead him up, and I throw him on the stands in front of his dad, and his dad stands up, and I have him bent over. I put my foot on the back of his head, and I just sit there. I'm like, "Is this your fucking son?" Like, fucking wham, and I cracked him like, "This your kid?" Fucking wham, and I'm like, I'm watching his dad, who knows, this is all a fucking work. I'm watching his dad starting to well up. I'm like, oh, like his dad's getting fucking pissed. Like, what a douche. And I sit there and I get in his face. Like, I let Robbie off selling. I get in his dad's face, and I'm looking at him eye to eye. And like out of the corner of my eye, like I watch his fist fall up, and he wants nothing more than the fucking. And he's not a pro wrestler. He's nothing. This is just a dad watching me beat the shit out of his son.
Yeah.
And I was yelling real loud at him, like in his face. And I watch that fist, and I get real up close to his face, and just like, as quietly as possible, fucking do it, pussy. And he rears back, and he goes, boom! Fucking, honestly, like, as for an old man, one of the hardest shots I ever took, because I took it straight to the fucking nose. And I fall backwards off the fucking bleachers, shoot onto the fucking gym floor, holding my face like, like, God damn it, like, this plan backfired, and this place fucking erupts. Like, I'm telling you, it's a fucking riot. Like, I've gotten cool reactions before, but holy shit. And, like, people are now on their feet, and I look at Robbie, I'm like, fucking go. And he just fucking starts laying into me and fighting me back to the fucking ring. And now we're just fucking going and hitting our fucking falsies, and everyone's on every last little fucking second. And we go to get back in the ring, and I fight, and he grabs me, he gives me a DDT, and I spike myself into the fucking tile floor, and I split my head open.
Holy
like,
shit.
Real deep along the dreads. Oh, there's a dent there too.
Oh, really? Eh?
And I get up, and all of a sudden I'm gigged without realizing it, because we weren't supposed to, have
Split your fucking head open.
Yeah, and I pop up, and I'm bleeding, and I watch him, and I watch his eyes bug out. He's like, "Oh, you all right?" I'm like, "Fucking punch me, dude!" And he just starts coming in, and we just start going, and like, like this whole crowd, the reaction, everything in it was just awesome. And I come to the back, and I don't even wipe my face off, and I'm sitting here, I'm like that, like that's what it fucking was. Like that's what I'm fucking missing. I did all this shit. I worked so fucking hard. And yeah, maybe I didn't get it all fucking put together in NXT, but god damn it, I can fucking work, and I know I can. And that was the first moment, like as you said, that it turns around, it was like everything clicked, and it was just like, what the fuck have I been fucking stressing out about this whole time?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just professional fucking wrestling.
Goddamn
And
right, man.
And it was that moment, and I fucking sat, and I had a couple beers afterwards with the fucking guys, and I'm just sitting there like my mind was blown, like I had just fucking seen clearly for the first time ever, because I made an old man punch me in the face for real, and it hurt. But like,
Did you talk to him afterwards?
oh yeah, he was him or his dad?
His dad.
Oh no, his dad was fine. I talked to him afterwards, and he's like, sorry I hit you so hard. I'm like, no, like that was awesome. Like that's exactly what I wanted. Like I wouldn't have told you to do it if I didn't want it, man. Like it's fine, but you know, his dad like loves it. Like he's super into pro wrestling and everything. So every time I'm there, like I have a feud with his dad. Like every single promo I cut, I call out his dad, and like now I've started like mocking his mom, who I'm not so sure knows that I'm joking. I think she actually just likes me, because whenever I enter the room, she just fucking shuts up and flips me the bird. Like, you stop that, woman.
That's some good heat right there, though. Fuck
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
dude. That's a awesome fucking story, dude. So like talking wrestling with you is like one of the easiest things in the world for me to do. Like I can literally do this all day. And like, 100%. Quite frankly, like please come back and do this like anytime, as far as like just talking wrestling goes. Like I just want viewers to get to know, you know, the dude that I know, like the man, just a little bit better. So pro wrestling isn't the only thing that you do. Like as a matter of fact, when we first met, the business card that you gave me listed you as a stuntman. Hopefully I'm not giving too much away there, but talk a little about some of the projects rather that you have worked on in the past. And if you're able to, talk about that really dope project that you got going on that's supposed to be debuting here. Like I want to say early next year.
Yeah, that would be maybe. Like we wanted for the summer, but then we realized like how much editing takes.
Sure. Okay, so talk about what you can talk about, because like again, this shit is fascinating to me.
But so I was taking, as I was saying, like when I was trying to save my job in NXT, I was taking a lot of acting classes because I wanted to be better on a mic and being able to better convey my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings, and without being general big guy 80s yell pointing whatever. And so when I was out of NXT and I was just looking for work, I started seeing like just spots like as extra roles, as like we need like prisoners or like bikers, you know, as extras, big guys, crazy hair, lots of tattoos. Oh, like cool, you know, like whatever stuff here and there. And I did a film like right after I got released that's going to hopefully come out this summer, called Escape from Death Block 13. And when I walked onto the set, the director looked at me and he's like, yo, like you stand out way too fucking much to be as an extra. He's like, we're kind of tight budgeted. I can't give you a whole lot more than what I'm already offering you. Do you want some lines? Yeah, like give me fucking lines.
Fucking right.
I play a character called Mad Dog. And I'm basically just the muscle for the main heel of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, the only lines, I get my mouth pretty smashed up before I say my first speaking part, so I can't actually speak in the movie very well.
Right.
Whatever, it's still cool. But I ended up meeting a lot of people. I met a stunt coordinator who did who wrote out, he like helped Bruce Lee with fight scenes. He's the guy who slowed Bruce Lee down so you could tell what he was doing.
Speaking of which,
He's the guy who,
sorry, sorry to kill the kayfabe here, but we're filming on Sunday. Tonight, Sunday night, on ESPN, that Bruce Lee 30 for 30 airs tonight.
oh, cool. I had no idea.
Yeah. So check that out. I am at 9 o'clock. So if for everybody watching this Thursday at 8 p.m., you beautiful bastards, go back and watch this, what we're talking about, because it's going to be fucking sweet.
Hell yeah. But no, this dude also trained all the kids in the Ninja Turtle costumes for the original Ninja Turtle movies.
Get the fuck out of here. That is amazing.
Oh, yeah. Like, he showed me all the pictures and autographs. It was dope. He got me working on this project called Horror Hotel, but I was driving to Cleveland basically for free to be like kind of a standing character. And like he started looking up like commercial and movie roles for me.
Sure.
And we kind of lost base just because he's so far, and you know, money obviously gets tight with you know, the Armageddon happening.
Yeah.
Coronavirus ruining everything, man.
It really is, dude.
But anyways, so I started like looking up more and more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be out this summer. And I just signed on to a fan series project for the Red Hood. Red Hood, for people who don't know, is the second Robin who gets, Batman thinks he's murdered by the Joker. He comes back as like this dope anti-hero, and they're making a fan series in order to pitch it to Netflix. And I scored a role as kind of like the main drug lord under Joker. So I got a pretty good role in that. I think the guy playing Red Hood was like the Red Ranger in like Power Rangers Time Force, like one of them nobody watched.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I got cast as a horror movie monster for something that was supposed to film later on this year, that like the director wants to take it in like an over the top, like gruesome, violent area, which is not the type of movies like I'd even watch. But like, you know, you're gonna put me in a role, like it's not that far fetched for me to figure that one out, you know.
For sure.
So yeah, like I've been playing around with a lot of that, and then you know what you were talking about. I don't want to go too much into detail to what we're doing, but we've been working on getting some film together, myself and Sammy Callahan, for a YouTube channel, and we just want to put out not wrestling content, but just wrestling related content, just funny promos or just stuff that guys have ideas for, things like pitches that we can't send to Impact for national TV because they're just a little too dumb and ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we don't care because it's just us having fun, you know?
For sure. You actually kind of told me a little bit about this.
Yeah. We got a lot of stuff in the tank for it, but when it debuts, keep an eye out for it. We're getting the name, we want to use the name Gimmick Soup.
Gimmick Soup, okay.
Yeah,
please,
as well.
Yo, when that starts when you guys start to debut that, talk to Sammy, see if you guys want to both do, you know, the show again, because that would be fucking sweet, and it'd be another good way just to kind of get it out there. What was that, sorry?
But it's cool. It's just a lot. It's a lot of work, you know. We started filming stuff for the first show we want to put on there, and then we realized, like, well, we want a 10-minute video, and with just like the first portions that we've done, we haven't even started filming like our B-roll or anything else we need to add in yet.
Yeah.
Just the first portions that we did at tapings. God, we have maybe 20, 30 minutes of material, and to find the right time to cut out and put to create the narrative that we want, it became a lot more work than we were ready. So I think we want to get up 2 to 3 episodes before we started dropping them.
Smartest thing.
Keep them coming out on a consistent basis.
Hell yeah. Well, don't give too much away, because like that's something that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm sure that when people listen to this and watch this, I'm sure they will be too. So one thing that I wanted to get into, just because again I like talking about different stuff, is one of the biggest things is how you've been approaching your training and diet. So do you specifically have like a methodology when it comes to your training? And like, what do you typically do for your training, and how would that vary from maybe the training that you're doing now from like with the pandemic?
Pandemic training has been awful. Like, you get to where you need to get to, but like a lot of my training over this course has just been stuff I need to do around the house. Chopping wood has been huge for me. Like I have 3 acres of land and a push mower. Like that's a hell of a lot of time. Chainsawing out brush and moving it. Gardening is just, a lot of
He's a man. Such a man.
Like, and all this stuff. Like, I have the time to finally work on my property the way I want to. And instead of using like power tools and stuff, I've just been doing it by hand. So that's been helping. And then you keep your body weight regimen, but you can only do so much.
Sure. So like, okay, so pandemic aside, because obviously, training sucks, and you're basically on the William Regal workout. What do you what do you normally do? Like, say, so take the pandemic out. Like, what's like? Do you have like do you have a week that you go through? Like, do you have like goals that you're hitting? Like, are you training for specific things? Like, is it a bodybuilder? Like, kind of get into just a little bit of the way that you go about yours.
So after I tore my pec, when I tore my pec, was like a couple weeks after I hit like 450 for 3 on my bench.
Shit.
And I was all of like 320 pounds. Like, I was a fucking tank. Like, there's a picture on Wikipedia still that I can't fucking get off there because I don't know how to edit it. And everybody keeps putting it back when I do, of me in ring in a singlet. And like, you see how like massive I was, because like I was as strong as a fucking ox, but there wasn't any definition in any of it.
I know what picture you're talking about, because I double checked Wikipedia this morning just to make sure that everything I knew was like factual. Because the only thing I didn't know was what university you went to. But when I saw that picture, I'm not gonna lie, I fucking giggled. You were fucking huge, bro.
It's huge. I started realizing like this hurts. Like, it's hard to be 300 pounds. It's hard to be 320 pounds, especially in a wrestling ring where it affects your knees so much. And like, the weight was just getting to me, man. I just couldn't handle it. So after I tore my pec, I kind of realized, like, why am I lifting this heavy? I never have to be that strong. I never have to be that strong.
Right.
And I look now, before he started losing all the weight, the heaviest person at Impact was AC Romero at 450. He slimmed down a ton, thank God, because it makes it super easier. But like, he's doing great on that.
Well, he's got to fit into that fucking suicide costume, for crying out loud.
Whoa, kayfabe, brother.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
So I realized, like, well, I don't ever have to pick up more than 450 pounds, so why am I going to try? I'm not a strong man. I'm entering competitions. Why do I want to be stronger than 450 pounds? So now I don't do that.
Right.
I don't, like, if I'm feeling saucy on a bench, I'll go up to 315, but I'll stick to a little bit lighter weights, like, 225, 250, 275, and just do those for a lot of reps.
So are you more about
at the end of the day, I have to look strong. I don't have to be strong. I'm as strong as I ever have to be right now. So why not just maintain that and feel better health-wise and weight-wise,
I completely agree.
That's kind of my approach. And there's times, like, I prefer to mix, like, chest and tries, back and buys. Like, I like to mix 2 things. But I go lift with my girlfriend a lot, and she's very much like, let's isolate shoulders, let's isolate back, let's isolate chest. So I keep a good flip. I don't really, I do a little bit of everything, and I think it keeps me well-rounded as far as strength and, agility and movement and ring.
Yeah. I've never met your girlfriend, obviously, but I've seen a lot of pictures. She looks really shredded. So I'm assuming that she's been probably trying to help you with, like, just trying to cut up a little bit.
like she knows her shit, man. She's a nurse for Dayton Children's, and
Oh
she's
wow.
absolutely amazing. Like there's nothing this woman can't do. Like I was telling you, I just moved. My house is a complete clutter. From those
Yeah.
of you who would have seen it when I was picking up my glass,
Poor,
because
poor,
just
poor Fulton is in the same situation I'm in. If I was to move my fucking camera on my laptop right now, left or right in the slightest, it is not going to appear the same way that this does. So
no,
thankfully,
absolutely not.
oh, it is a shit
Like,
show.
so we just got all of her stuff moved in, and now we gotta unpack it and get it everywhere. But like it's cool, having her with that. But as well as like, she doesn't really know wrestling that well, which is cool for me.
Perfect.
Yeah, but it's cool for me because now, like when I have ideas and I talk about wrestling, I'm running them in front of someone who, yeah, she knows a little bit, but for the most part, she's looking at it from like a fan perspective. So like when I have new ideas and new pitches and stuff, like the new character I was telling you about,
Yeah,
I can run that by her because you see it through the same lens I do as wrestling. But she
100%.
sees it as a fan. So if she doesn't get it, then I need to change it, right? Because
And
she's my target audience in a way.
and that's somebody that
So
supports what you're doing. And so like if they know you know that they want you to be successful rather, and she still thinks it's a shit idea, then yeah, chances are you've probably got a shit
the
idea or need
the
tweaking or
reason I
something.
know, the reason I know, and maybe I give away a little bit too much about how I am as a person, but the reason I know she's my fucking one. Like I mentioned before, like I was engaged to the wrong fucking girl. I made my fucking mistake. Like I've seen what wrong looks like in my life, and it took me a long time to be comfortable in like a relationship status that way. To
Yeah,
get fucked over so bad. But to finally put my trust into somebody, like I knew it from the fact when she found out that they were letting me wrestle Ken Shamrock at Hard to Kill, and I was going to have my first ever singles pay-per-view match. Literally, the moment she found out, she bought a ticket to fucking Dallas. And in
amazing.
that mind, if I have someone there who can love me and support me that deeply, knowing that something is such a huge moment in my life and something so spectacular for me, and to want to be there and be in that moment with me, like fucking, it says a lot about a person. And like I've been inseparable after that.
100%. And dude, that's one thing that I've noticed as well is like, that's, to be honest with you, that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to when the border opens up, just because like one weekend I'm just going to drive down there and hang out, but I want to meet this girl just because she has genuinely made you so happy since she's come into your life. And like, you've definitely become a lot more, I'm not going to say you become a different dude, but like you've just become happier, and I love seeing that. And like it seems like you finally found that rock that you were looking for that entire time.
And that's a big thing for me is I've always I like to drive forward. I'm always working towards something in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was kind of like I was picking wrestling back up, but like I was sinking my heart and my soul into wrestling, and everything was hinging on that. But like at home, like I had 3 acres of land and a dog, and I wasn't sharing my life with anybody, and like it starts getting lonely. I'm not afraid to admit that as a guy. Like I've reached a point in my life where I feel a lot better about myself and a lot more comfortable.
Sure.
And it sucked, but like that starts getting to you too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Callahan and Jessica Havoc, like I love them to death, but I know I was on their I know I was a pain in the ass for them
Sure.
because like I would just go to their house and just sit on their couch because I didn't want to be alone at home.
Yeah,
Um,
that third wheel syndrome isn't a comfortable feeling, but it's almost like one of those things where you kind of need that at the same time. It's weird. I get it.
and it's like you don't want to pressure your friends like that, but like, and and I don't want to say I was or that they felt that way because I've talked to them both about this,
Sure.
and they're like you're a fucking friend, like This is what you do for fucking friends. Like, you know, as annoying as it is to know that you're in the house at all points in time, like, I'd rather that than leave you at home. Like, you know, those two, especially over last summer, did more for me than most people in my fucking life, you know.
Yeah.
And it helped me through fucking tough times. Like, you know, I hit a real low point in my life, and just the amount of friends and the amount of people that have come to like just extend that hand and help me up and help me and just get me back to being a person, like, has been really cool. Like,
Yeah, and I can tell that Sammy's one of those. Sorry, I can tell that Sammy's one of those guys that doesn't like when you give him credit for that kind of stuff. But he's a phenomenal dude. Like when we did that fundraiser for Rich to help him out with some funds, like while he's sitting at home with a broken leg, like I mean, thanks to you, like you just mentioned it to him, and next thing you know, he fucking goes out of his way to donate one of his vests from NXT, and that was just nothing that he had to do. Like I tried to contact him to say thanks, and you could just tell that he didn't want to hear it. It was just one of those, we're helping out a friend, that's what it is.
Like, honestly, yeah, we were talking about it before. Like a lot of the people helping me out in my life right now and doing a lot of stuff for me don't want thanks for it. You know, I was told by I'll name them not here, but like, you know, to you, because I don't know how much, you know, I want to give away different stuff, but like,
Yeah, you don't have to.
3 people I've went up to thank for doing, you know, for helping me out in wrestling, and each and every one of them told me to fuck off. All of them, they're like, you need to fuck off. This is what you do. This is what you do for your fucking boys. Like, this is how we advance as professional wrestlers. And it's what we were talking about before. Like, you nice enough to enough people and you work your ass off, that shit comes back to you.
Fucking right, man.
And just the amount of people that have helped me out just from that mindset has been amazing.
So going back to just the training stuff, take me through a typical day of your diet. What do you like from the moment that you wake up, moment that you go to bed? Do you have a set routine? Like how you feel on that fucking monster tank of yours?
It was much more set before coronavirus happened.
Sure.
I mean, it's just happens to everybody.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of this year, I actually went vegetarian.
Really?
For the first time. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Just something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I started dating. You know, my girlfriend. We were talking about her, and she was completely vegetarian, and I'm like, this is my chance. Like, this is my opportunity. Like, show me how to do this without dying. You know, without lacking those nutrients. And she really set a huge precedence. She came in, by the way, so I'm looking at it. You know, she did a huge thing with helping me deal with getting those extra calories and being able to maintain my weight, my size, you know, without that, you know, extra meat just sitting in your stomach all the time. And I lost like 14 pounds like instantly because I was just struggling to eat enough to keep up with how much I was, you know.
So was that the secret to you getting all shredded up? Because like I remember it
was a big part of it.
Yeah, like I just remember the one time I ran into you and I was just like, you had just like you fucking looked like you ketoed up or some shit. Like you looked great.
And it's between, well, that was a big thing, and at that time, I started, you know, I was starting to see a little bit of light impact.
Right.
And I started like just looking like, what can I do to break out from OVE? How do I, you know, because like obviously Sammy's was the leader of OVE, but it's like, how do I snidge in there and find my own spot?
Totally.
And we were sitting one day in a hotel room, and Sammy, we were getting ready for the show, and like Sammy's like buttoning up a vest over his t-shirt, putting on nice pants. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, we're going like 10 minutes up the road. He's like, yeah, but if you want to be a world champion, you have to look like a world champion. And he said that, and it dawned on me right in my head, like, if I want to be a fucking world champion, I can't just hide beneath a fucking shirt. Like, I need a body to represent that of a world champion. And it's like, you know, while I've always been big under the shirt, I slimmed down, and then I went shirtless for Bound for Glory, which was really hard for me to do because I wasn't cut at all. I was just, in a good shape. And Impact kind of came to like, listen, like, we see your body, like, we acknowledge you doing great. You look bigger with a top on. And that's what came up with the singlet now, was just because it just makes me look like a more massive person.
100%.
But it was Sammy saying that, and then plus her helping me out with the vegetarian stuff, that is just like, if I ever want a legitimate shot in this business, I'm going to work harder than anything else that I ever have before. Because if I fail at this, I don't want it to be on me. It goes back to how I left NXT.
Mm-hmm.
If I fail, I don't want to leave any excuses on my table.
100%. I get that. Now, so like, are you still on the vegetarian diet, like through the pandemic and whatnot, or?
Yes. I think I might start. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh no, I just shut my door.
And does your girlfriend know? Did she walk in and just see all this fucking glass and whiskey everywhere?
She doesn't know about the glass yet. I haven't told her that story.
Oh no.
Well,
the good news is that
I was doing this with you, so she came in all quiet. Thank you.
She's a sweetheart.
Hi.
Yeah, please do.
Come introduce yourself. And she's wearing my merch, so it's fucking better.
That is.
Come sit down.
It is hello. It is a pleasure to finally meet you.
This is Ben. Ben's fucking awesome.
Nice to meet you.
This is Summer. Summer's fucking awesome.
I've genuinely heard so much about you, and you've made my friend really, really happy ever since you guys started dating. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Well, cool.
And I hear that you've made my friend vegetarian, and that he's getting a lot leaner because of you.
Yeah, it's a struggle at first, but I'm trying to get him to see that there's like a bunch of options and everything that are actually pretty good. So don't knock until you try it.
You know what? That's one thing I've learned is that, like, I remember knocking keto when I first heard about it, and then I tried it out, and it slimmed me down quite a bit, and it's not what I'm on right now, but I found out that it works.
Oh yeah, nice.
So, hell yeah.
I'm talking about me. Get out of here.
Bye, Summer. All right, we're almost done anyway. So what I want you to do, Fulton, is I want you to get your quick thinking hat on, because we're going to end this with a set of rapid fire questions, okay? So I'm going to try to kick this a little bit all over the place, so then that way you're not just kind of stuck in one thing here. So I got 10 of these. You ready? Oh, you already swigged. Fuck, hang on. All right. I feel better now. Okay, so what is your favorite match that you've been a part
of? My favorite match I've been a part of, we had a Fatal 5-Way Hoss battle for Revolver down here in Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's up on Impact Plus.
Perfect.
Push Impact Plus.
Yes.
And it was myself, a guy named Crash Jackson, Brian Cage, Willie Mack, and AC Romero. There's the 5 of us.
Perfect.
And if you've ever seen Revolver, it's like a small building. The fans are right on top of you. The atmosphere is just bonkers. Like, it's one of my favorite crowds.
Go check that out on Impact Plus, by the way.
Yeah, and I brought my parents down, and my sister. Summer was there, and just to have like so many important members and family members of my life there, and then to tear it down on like a real main event level. Because like my parents see me wrestle like certain indie matches against guys who may not be the best of workers, and I put my heart and soul into every match, and I try to raise people up to my level as much as possible. But to go out with 4 other guys who are just on top of their game, in front of my family, in front of like my hometown atmosphere, it was just a really, really, really cool moment for me to have all that in. But as far as that's my favorite as far as like personal level. If you want to go favorite like technical, Hasn't happened yet, technically, but it has been taped. So you're gonna have to keep up with Impact to find that one out.
So many. That's awesome. Okay. Who's not on TV right now that should be?
Oh, Jesus. I just pitched this idea to Johnny Swinger because I want Johnny Swinger to start a faction with the Gymnasty Boys. I think the Gymnasty Boys have the talent. I think they have the charisma. They are absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen their stuff, like, go check them out. Like, please. Timothy Bumpers and White Mike. They are fantastic workers, do comedy. They're technical as all hell. I'm pretty sure Tim can do legitimately anything in that damn ring.
Mm-hmm.
Their gimmick now might be a little bit too over the top and need to be reined in for a TV audience. But I think in a faction with a guy like Johnny Swinger can really like push them and elevate them to a level that they can be seen on a more national level.
I'll have to check that out. Who's your favorite band?
Real Big Fish. Huge fan of Third Way Ska. I go to almost all their concerts.
That just threw me off.
Yeah, like weird. I listen to like a lot of different types of music.
Do you know who the Interrupters are?
Death metal, so we can bang to that.
Do you know who the Interrupters are? Do you know who the Interrupters are?
No, yeah, of course. Of course.
Brother.
The last concert I went to was back down in Florida, and it was Real Big Fish and Bowling for Soup. And Bowling for Soup brought Alexa Bliss on stage
to do their song.
Girls, all the bad guys want. And I'm literally standing there stage like, you motherfuckers! Like, I wish I was that famous.
And then they did a fucking song about her. That's dope. Favorite sports team?
Huge fan of the Minnesota Vikings.
I knew you were
sorry to all my Ohioans. I'm sorry to give up the secret behind OVE. But growing up, you start looking at who you want to root for. And where I grew up, everybody was a fan of the Browns because it's near Cleveland.
Keep talking. I'm
gonna the Cowboys.
Sorry, keep talking because I'm gonna show you something here. Just keep talking though.
Okay. No, I see your Cowboys flag too. But you're either a fan of the Browns or you're a fan of the Cowboys. And of course, I was huge into Ohio State. My favorite player was Chris Carter, and I just happened to become a Vikings fan, which was a mistake because they have let me down every year. But I love them all the same.
So I only own one football jersey and one piece of NFL equipment that is not Dallas Cowboys. Would you like to see what it is, sir?
See a little bit of purple jersey on that hanger. Hell yeah! I got this same jersey. He's one of my favorite players, dude. He's I thought that was.
Did I just fucking throw you off just there?
It was Lesnar. Oh, I thought that was why am I blanking on his name now? Jesus, I gotta go get mine. Hold on.
Yeah, brother. I'm a Brock Lesnar mark. You should know this. So I actually went out of my way to get his fucking Vikings jersey, dude.
I have a funny Brock Lesnar story too. Got me Randy Moss.
Yep.
Go figure. I got my Jared Allen jersey.
Jared Allen.
Chris Carter.
That's beat up.
Cleaner Chris Carter.
Ooh.
I got my my Brett Favre.
Oh, that doesn't count.
You heard me. Brett Favre. And I have a custom-made playoffs purple and white jersey.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
Who's that Southwick guy?
Who's that?
Favorite opponent thus far, sir?
Was that?
Favorite opponent thus far?
Oh, my God. I don't know, dude. I honestly, like, I love wrestling. Like, I love just fucking being in a ring. Like, it doesn't matter with who. Like I'm a fucking whore for wrestling. I just want to be in there. I don't care who. Throw all the dudes at me. Like, I don't care. Like,
I get it.
I like working with Eddie Edwards quite a bit.
And an awesome human being.
I think he has tremendous work rate. He's smart as all hell. We had a match. I think it was the second Motown Showdown. We had a singles match that turned into a 6-man tag with him, Willie, and Swan versus me, Dave, and Jake. And I remember they came out and they're like, oh yeah, like we're adding Larry D to the card, so we're gonna make your guys' matches the same. And like, you're like, yeah, like please put us in a 6-man tag. Like this is what we want. Like, yes. They're like, and they pulled all 6 of us. They're like, listen, like you have 32 minutes, like figure it out, and then just left. And of course we start bullshitting and joking around, and nothing ever gets done. So our match comes up, and I look at him, and I'm like, we got 32 minutes. What do you want to do? And he's like, nah. And then his music hits, and he walks out. And I came back from this match, and D'Lo pulled me aside to tell me like how much more confident and like great I was looking in the ring. I'm like, I was freaking the fuck out the whole time. I had no idea what was going on. It was fucking pandemonium. And they liked it, so.
That's awesome. The impact taker.
You can put me in the ring with him anywhere, anytime, and we're gonna fucking tear it down.
What's the biggest goal that you've set for yourself that you've accomplished?
Oh man, fuck, you're getting real hard into these.
Yeah.
I think for me, wanting to get signed with NXT is obviously working for WWE was a goal ever since I was a child. But I honestly feel like I just was like, I worked hard. Don't get me wrong. Like I would never have gotten there had I not been like an elite level amateur athlete. But I feel like I really lucked into that job, and I feel like, you know, that's not the end all be all for me at all. I think re-signing with like proving to myself that I'm good enough to sign with a wrestling company, not based on my amateur background, I think has been one of the real big goals that I set for myself that I've really knocked out of there, and kind of rejuvenated a lot of confidence in who I am as a person.
I'd agree with that. I think the Impact signing is, you know, as much as it means for the WWE to sign you and whatnot, like for Impact to sign you based off of your pro wrestling merit, based off of your amateur wrestling merit is obviously a much bigger deal. What's the next?
I didn't know about my amateur wrestling stuff until they saw me in that USSR singlet.
Yeah.
Scott comes up to me. I'm wearing my USSR singlet in the back, just like walking around with my thighs out because that's what you do in singlets. And Scott's like, he's like, man, like you look great in a singlet. He's like, you seem really comfortable. I'm like, Scott, like I was an amateur wrestler for 16 years. He's like, wait, what? I'm like, Scott, like I took 4th and 3rd in the nation. He goes, what? I'm like, Scott, like I qualified for the Olympic trials in 2012. Like, and he's just blowing his mind. He's like, I had no idea about fucking any of this. I'm like, yeah, like it's about all I got.
So what's the next goal on the list that you need to and are going to accomplish?
World champion.
Fucking right. Who are the first 5 up and coming names that come to your head that people need to watch out for? Like just young guys like breaking in.
I want to keep this to Impact just because like I obviously I want to push the guys that were coming up because I'm going to sidetrack a little bit for you. I had this discussion the other day that like I really think Impact is like the Nintendo Switch of wrestling, right? You have your WWE, you have your AEW, the same way you have PS4 and you have Xbox, right? You have these juggernauts that can just throw money and have these great performers and great matches because they're already they're on that level purely from money, right?
100%.
And I'm not taking it away because they have amazing wrestlers and amazing products, you know, and I like the shit that they put out. But Impact, like, it has to start up from the hurt that it pulled on people. And for me, it's the same way as like looking at the Wii U, right? The Wii U sold awful. Nobody liked it. It was fucking shit, right? Had some cool games, but it was fucking shit. And then all of a sudden the switch comes out. And for me, like that's the switch from like TNA to Impact Wrestling. And it's like, listen, like might not be as big and as flashy as fucking PlayStation 4 or fucking Xbox, but you know what? We got some really fucking good games. So there's my weird analogy out of here.
For sure. It's a good analogy.
I want to put just, I don't know if I put them separate or together, but all three of the Rascals are absolute money.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute money.
Couldn't agree more.
Not to give anything too far away, but I heard a certain promo by one Trey Miguel that shook me to my core. That I'm not kidding you, made people in the room cry. And to be able to bring that level of emotion out and that level of stuff. But here's the thing, all three of them can fucking do it. Like,
so talented.
They're animals, dude. They're absolute animals.
Okay, so give me two more.
Hakeem Zayn.
Love
Youth.
Hakeem. Yes.
One of those guys that has to overcome his size and has to overcome the stigma that's immediately set on him for being an Indian-based wrestler, and will gladly do it. His stuff at AAW before Corona ended the world was some of the best fucking shit, and his promos are scathing.
Him
I
and
really
Karam.
like what he can bring to the table.
Him and Karam together are fantastic.
Karam's coming along. Karam's still very, very green.
Yeah.
But when it snaps in his mind, he's gone. The day he figures it out, he's jumping off our scales. Like no one's gonna hold on to him.
It's fucking insane. That guy looks like $2 million. Not even $1 million. He's $2 million. That guy.
Like I'm with Summer, but it's a good looking dude.
I get it.
And then obviously the last one I'm gonna put over 100 times would be Jake something. There's no amount of words that I'm ever gonna fucking be able to say. And not even that I would even consider him an up and comer because he's been around, but as far as impact is considered, he's an up and comer. I think he's really starting now to draw eyes back on him.
Yeah.
And certain situations going on with the world has kind of put him into an awkward spot of his career.
For sure.
But if you think that man is not money, then you don't your eyes aren't open.
I literally can't tell you the amount of times that I've tweeted this just because every time that I have this random thought and I might even right as soon as we're done here, I just like to throw it out into the universe that Jake something should literally be the world champion of all of fucking wrestling. He is a fucking man. And he is one of the most talented fucking human beings and genuinely nicest human being. Like that brother is fucking total package. The fact that guy isn't a millionaire yet almost pisses me off because like I've had this talk with a few other people like Tid, for example. And, I've said to him, like, in a perfect world, like a year from now, the entire Impact heavyweight title scene should be Elgin, you, Jake something, Eddie Edwards, Sami Callihan. That should be like your 5 guys who fucking run this place because like you've got Elgin is your guy of right now because to say that he's the future is stupid. He is right now, and then you've got you guys like Sami and Eddie who are literally 2 of the most talented wrestlers that have ever graced the business and have been around for long enough that they can take guys like you and Jake something and really genuinely make you guys superstars by working with you. And I think that that's what the business needs. Like you and Jake something are, in my personal opinion, are the fucking future of that company. And I couldn't agree more with Jake.
He, on an indie show, gave me a black hole slam that I wasn't sure when I was going to hit the ground because he kept me up for so long.
He's a monster.
Dude is a animal.
Yeah. So what's your proudest moment thus?
Wait. I'm going to cut you off and sneak in ahead here because you
Please
only
do.
said 5 and you said up and coming.
Yep.
But I'm never going to stop pushing Jake Christ.
Always a good
He's
one.
got really cool stuff coming for him now that OVE is kind of parted ways. And I think he's going to open up a lot of people's eyes when he steps out from the tag team of him and his brother.
Yeah.
Because once again, like for people who don't know, like Jake ran a show here in Dayton called Rockstar and got it above and beyond and made a whole new just genre of like just this cool underground Ohio indies that like anybody who's anybody today at one point came through Rockstar because of Jake. And I think like his mind for the wrestling business is miles above anybody still wrestling that I talk to. And I can't sing his praises enough as both a human being and a wrestler. So I know you said up and coming and shit, but I'm gonna put him over.
And I'm glad that you did, because Jake actually had one of my favorite matches that I've ever watched live when he was the X Division champ and he got to wrestle Aiden Prince in Windsor. That, I don't know if you remember that, but like,
I thought Aiden Prince was gonna get offered a contract after that match.
Why he didn't?
Don't get me wrong, Aiden's a great dude, but Jake went out of his fucking way to be like, look at this motherfucker, like look at what he can fucking do. That match I think really did a lot for Aiden and like I don't know, but I agree with you. Like that is a really cool live match to be. There's a random explosion with him and Desmond Xavier too. If anybody cares to look it up or find it, that's just like they just decided like, oh, nobody watches Explosion, so let's just get dumb, and they just tear it down. Like he catches Dez like out of the back handspring and like tombstones him. It's nuts. It's bonkers. So that's another great one to look up.
Yeah, and you know what? I've always thought Aiden, and I still do. Aiden Prince is literally just money on a table waiting for somebody to fucking scoop up. Like he's a G, man. What's your proudest moment thus far outside of the ring?
Outside of the ring. Oh, jeez. See, here's like to ask that question. Like, I kind of got to explain my outlook on life, and that like I'm very much like I take both good and bad in stride. Like when good stuff happens, for me, it's like okay, like that was cool. Like this is a cool moment, but like now that was yesterday. Like that doesn't fucking affect me today. And while it's good, like for really bad moments in my life to learn how to shrug that off, I don't like, it's hard for me to take a ton of pride in myself. Like I take pride in myself and I take pride in my work, but it's what I'm doing currently.
Yeah.
So as far as past goes, like I don't know, man. To be honest, like I'm happy that I have a good life. Like, you know, I don't have the best house in the world. I don't have $1 million.
But it's yours. But it's yours.
But I have a home. And I have a car. And I have a fucking beautiful girlfriend. And I have a fucking amazing dog. And I get to live my fucking life the way that I want to fucking live my life. So like I guess like that in general, like just being here as this person compared to what I've been my entire life before this, like, you know, it makes me proud. It makes me happy to say that like, you know, I don't have the fucking best shit in the world, but god damn it, like I'm happy.
I love that. I love that answer because I feel the exact same way, dude. And what's the last question of the rapid fire here is what's the best piece of advice that you can give to somebody who wants to do what you do?
Learn to fail. Learn to be okay with failings. Mm-hmm. Learn that just because it doesn't fucking work, and it, trust me, it's not, that you can go on and you can grow from it and you learn, because if you don't fail, there's no growth. If you do everything right every single time, when you do something wrong, you're not gonna get anywhere. And if you're feeling stagnant, like I know a lot of guys on the indies right now ask me the same fucking question, and they're like, how do I break out? Like, what do I do? How do I get to that next step? I was like, are you not breaking out now? fucking change it, right? And it is hard. It's super hard. It's super hard to go out there and make a fool of yourself to try something. But then when you try it, more and more ideas fucking start stemming up and start going. You know, there's an idea that we've been talking about back and forth. For the people watching the podcast, I bounced all of my ideas off of Ben. Just great mind for the business, and he's a friend, and I know I can. And so we were bouncing that idea earlier today, you know, back and forth. But that character stems from this really shitty character I did for a long time in NXT, where I was like, you know, like the scene of Silence of the Lambs, where Hannibal Lecter is fucking murdering those guards and the classic music's playing. And he's like that's what I was doing for a long time, and I thought it was fucking great. You know, I thought it was cool, and nobody liked it.
Right.
And then like what it should have been was kind of like what Lars Sullivan was starting to do. But like I failed. I tried something, I failed, and now that little tiny aspects of that character are starting to flutter back into ideas that I'm having now. You know, like I put myself out there. Like I try and I fail, and I've wrestled terrible fucking matches. But you have to wrestle terrible matches to know how to wrestle a good match. I tell a lot of people, like I might not be a great wrestler. I might not know everything in the fucking business, but I know a million things not to do in this business.
Right.
And I feel like that's gotten me across, but you don't figure that out until you fucking learn how to fail with dignity.
For sure. So before I start to like wrap this up here, you said that you have a funny Brock Lesnar story, and I have to ask.
So when I was wrestling in high school, I was just trying. I was trying everything I could, but I was also doing it with the goal in mind of becoming a pro wrestler on top of that. Like, pro wrestling has always been the goal, like since day one. Like my mom has a sheet from my fucking kindergarten trapper. Says, what do you want to be when you grow up? Pro wrestler. And I don't fucking remember watching wrestling before. So I started signing up for all these different camps, all these different wrestling camps that had pro wrestlers in them. I wanted to go learn pro wrestling from Kurt Angle, so Kurt Angle would see my fucking face. I wanted to go learn it from Brock Lesnar, so Brock Lesnar would know who I am, right?
Yeah.
And there was a guy. There's a kind of lower down, no-name guy from OVW. The time like Cena and Lesnar and everybody was there. His name's Brian Keck. And like people called him No Neck Keck. And he was part of. He did that like real pro wrestling when it came out. Like remember that? Like he was on the Minnesota Freeze. Yeah, I remember the Minnesota Freeze. Fight me. So Brian Keck had this heavyweight camp out in Iowa. And I just turned 16 years old and got my license. And I jumped in my uncle's car, who loaned it to me, and I drove to Iowa because he had Brock Lesnar on as a like special guest trainer.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I'm not gonna go learn from fucking Brock Lesnar, you know?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I drive to Iowa and we do this camp and like we're learning all the heavyweight stuff. He doesn't come until the last, but he comes and he runs us through like this training session or whatever. They're like, well, it's the last day. Like we're gonna have a tournament and the winner of the tournament is gonna wrestle Brock. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna fucking wrestle Brock Lesnar. Like I'm gonna fucking wrestle Brock Lesnar. Also,
what fucking sort of prize is that? I gotta wrestle X amount of guys and then I gotta fucking fuck. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
You should be the opposite angle of 16-year-old fucking Jacob, okay?
Shit.
And completely off kilter, whatever. Nicolas Cage's son was also at this fucking camp.
Why wouldn't he
Weston
be?
Cage. Yeah.
Sure.
No, like completely fucking random. On my MySpace, I have a picture with him wearing my fucking Eddie Guerrero Viva La Raza fucking t-shirt.
Did you whoop his ass?
Oh, his son?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Documentary.
Tremendous.
Documentary about saving up. It's really funny.
Amazing.
So I fucking worked my ass off and I won this fucking tournament because I wanted to wrestle fucking Brock, right? And you're going up like, I'm 16. I'm 16. Brock is fucking Brock. You know, it's like, okay, like, we're going to fucking shoot around. He's going to teach me some fucking shit, you know? Like, I'm going to learn from Brock Lesnar. He beat my fucking ass, Ben. He wrestled me the same way I've seen him wrestle hundreds of motherfuckers. He beat the shit out of me. And not just like take me down and pin me, which he could have done at any fucking time that he wanted because he's goddamn fucking Brock Lesnar. And I'm a fucking fat little piece of shit 16-year-old. If you're wondering what I look like at 16, I just posted a picture of me at 15 on my Instagram. So like, yeah, pretty bad.
So this went exactly how I thought it was gonna go. He waited for 16-year-old Jacob to tire his fucking self out, and then he just ragged off the piss out of you.
Dude, he would take me down and fucking kick me, and then let me get up. Like, and I would try, like, I'd take a shot, and he's just like, wow, and fucking ruined me, dude, ruined me. But like, we weren't keeping time or anything. It was just like a fucking, you know, like it was a match. So, like, this just went on, and I just kept getting up because I'm like, yeah, like, I'm wrestling Brock Lesnar. And it's like, no, fuck, like, he's beating the shit out of me. Like,
what was it like getting thrown around by that fucking bear? Oh, my God.
Like, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do.
No, I don't assume you.
Fucking Heyman, one day when I was fucking backstage at, like, a Raw or fucking SmackDown, I don't remember, fucking Paul Heyman grabs me and pulls me into fucking Brock's personal fucking locker room.
Really?
And we sit down, and I tell him that story. He's like, holy shit, you're that little fucking kid? I'm like, yeah. And like, Heyman's losing his mind because he can't believe that fucking, you know, I made it all the way back, and like, we share the story and fucking comment. But like, to the fact that, you know, he doesn't remember me or my name, but he remembers beating up a kid in fucking Iowa. So,
wow.
You know what? I'll speak to that motherfucker.
That is a fucking cool story, dude. He remembered you.
Yeah, I mean, mostly.
That's oh yeah, you're that little shit I beat up. Oh, that's fucking great, man. Okay, so to wrap this up, since you've been a good sport and you've kind of let me ask all the questions and you've helping me out by being on the show, I want to open the floor to you and just ask if there's anything that you want to know or if you have any questions for me.
So you led this off too, and I've just been busy all day. So I've been pondering this in my mind, of like whether or not like I want to ask about you as a person or like you as a wrestler. But like I know you as a wrestler, you know, like
yeah.
That's half the shit that we talk about most of the time. So, but I want to ask you like the same question because I don't know this about you. Where's the favorite? Like, what's your favorite match? Like, where's the favorite place that you've wrestled? Like. You know, like I have my favorite like technical match, but I want to know like emotionally what match has meant the most to you in your career.
Oh man, that is a good question, and now I'm starting to understand how loaded that is. Being on the other side, I guess. So there's a few. The one that sticks out to me, just because I was literally just thinking about this today, was a match that I had in Erie, Pennsylvania, about a year and a half ago for this group called Pro Wrestling Rage. I think it's PWR. I went there on a whim just because my buddy Rex Atkins just put up on his Facebook that he was looking for dudes to jump into his car. And I was just like, fuck it. I'm not above anybody, so why not? Like I had nothing to do. So I went and met up with them, and we drove to Erie, Pennsylvania. And I ended up getting on the show, and they ended up putting me on. I was supposed to wrestle this other guy. For some whatever reason, he didn't show up, and then they ended up putting me in with this kid. His name is Dakota Orion, I think. Pretty sure that's his name. If I'm not, I'm very, very sorry. So they put me with him, and I just remember like we had 15 minutes before we had to go out, and for me it was a big deal just because I haven't been wrestling a lot in the States. Like I've been very Canada based, and I thought that this was a big opportunity for me. Eddie Kingston was on the show too, who's like him and I have always gotten along. But again, I don't think that Eddie had ever seen me work before. So there was just this pressure that I had put on myself that I really wanted to go out there and have a very good showing, especially in a different country. And knowing that people, when they were asking, because Rex was going around and telling everybody, yeah, this guy's a producer at Impact and he owns his own gym, and kind of like putting like a lot of like building me up. And I was just like, those aren't things that I think about, you know, and that I've kind of obviously I pride myself on them, but they're not things that I use to pump my own brakes, if that makes any sense. So when he started telling this group about me and he started putting me over in this sense, I was just like, oh fuck, like it just made me realize I really want to produce here. So when I realized that I had 15 minutes with this kid, I was just like, are you new at this? And he's just like, yeah, pretty much. And I was just like, okay, this is your spot. Like, what do you do? Like, because like I knew that he was like a younger guy that they were trying to build. And then he kind of told me what he did. And then I just took a few minutes and I put something together, and I was like, are you good with this? I'm like, can you please just let me lead this? Because like I've got experience, and I know that if you just tell me what you do and let me go out there and do my thing, I think that we can really do something special. And it's not for me, it's for us. Because if you don't put me over, then you beating me means fucking nothing. I'm just a guy, you know what I mean? And if you're trying to build yourself here, let's make it mean something. So I put together like a little story. I went over it with them, and then I went over it with Eddie Kingston, and you know, he kind of like just threw a couple things around. And when I went out there, like I just remember people, it was like I was a rookie for the like first time in a long time. Like people were just like, who the fuck are you? And blah, blah, blah. And I remember actually at one point I like got offended, and I was just like, motherfucker, I've been doing this for so fucking long. Like, don't fuck with me like that. But then it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, I'm in this new place. Like they don't know me. So this was one of the rare matches that I sent to TJ Wilson, because like I'll send him stuff that like I'm proud of, and TJ will always send me a list of stuff, and he'll be like, hey, work on this, do this, blah, 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 blah. And that was the first time that he ever got back to me, and he was like, I got nothing to change. That was fucking dope. And it felt dope while I was out there. And it was very similar to that experience that you were telling me with the dad punching you in the mouth, like where like you were out there and like you were just feeling it on a different level, you know? And I remember specifically, like we got through the finish, and the crowd was just, they were reacting the way that I wanted them to, but I was just like, okay, they're reacting for him. Right. And then I do this thing, like, I guess it's kind of like an old school trick, and my buddy Brady makes fun of me all the time for it, where like, if I lose and I'm the baby face, I will always take that extra second to let the heel get themselves over, and then kind of give myself that minute to kind of get the yay applause for me losing, you know what I mean? But for the effort, you know? And I kind of accidentally did that without realizing it. And next thing I knew, everybody was going nuts for me. And like people were like, the same people that were asking me who the fuck I was and why I was there were all of a sudden wanting to like shake my hand and like give me hugs and all this stuff, and asking me when I'm going to be back. And I remember as soon as I walked back through the curtain, Dakota went first, and I was kind of like behind him. And I just remember like he went up to the promoter, and the promoter, and I feel bad saying this, but like they almost like shoved him aside. And both of them were very, very gracious to me. And they're just like, dude, anytime that you want to come back, please do. And it was just one of those moments where it dawned on me, like, man, I am good at this. I just need people to fucking stop looking at me a certain way. Like there was a certain circumstance that you know all about, and I don't want to go too deep into it, but like somebody at Impact straight up told me, because there was an opportunity that was available for a squash match while I was there, and I wasn't working as a producer that day, and I had my gear in my car, but like there was an opportunity that day where I just threw it up to somebody in creative, and I just said, hey man, like I know that I'm a producer, but like fuck, I can do this. Like and I've never had my TV match, and that's like, I'm not gonna say it's the only thing I've ever wanted, but I just feel like I need that to fucking validate myself as a wrestler, you know? And whether or not that's true, I don't know, but that's just something that I feel in my heart that I need. So I pitched myself, and that person on creative straight up, just as we were walking, just said to me, you are not a wrestler here. And I stopped dead in my tracks, and while they kept walking, and I was just like, it was like someone fucking shot me. Like it was like I wasn't prepared to hear that, you know?
I was there that day too, because I remember going out and talking with you about it.
Yeah, and that fucking hurt, man, because like because it dawned on me very quickly that like everybody at Impact has been very, very nice to me. But I don't think that they know me as a wrestler. They know me as just some guy that has been able to do some producing and was good at the job that I was afforded and given the luxury of being able to do, and was luckily enough to get along with everybody. But that's a ball that sits in my guts that I just can't let go yet, that I have to have that, you know? And that's kind of why I've given myself that year to, once wrestling starts up again, to like, I'm going hard in the fucking paint. Like I love producing and I love promoting and I love being able to be creative and come up with all these great ideas that like when you see people struggle with things and you're just like, no, please just do this. I got a really good feeling. And then they go out and do it and then it works. And you just like, there's this fucking really proud papa moment that comes over you. Like, and I'll even give an example with you. Like when you came and wrestled for Crossbody and I told you I needed you to go 30 minutes in the main, like you were just like, fucking 30 minutes. And I was just like, no, this is what you can do. Like, this is why you're here. Like I need people to know, and I need you to know that you're a fucking main event guy. And that these are situations that if someone throws you into, that you can do this. I know you can. Whether or not you realize it or not is up for you to figure out. But this is something that I know. And if you please just do this, I think that you'll end up seeing it. And I think at the end of that match with Holden Albright, I think that was a huge thing for you, that you went out of there and realized, motherfucker, I can do a main event match and I can do 30 fucking minutes.
Yeah, and like that's the thing is like the only time I ever do main event like long stuff at that time was from my home gym, and I was sitting there. I'm like, yeah, like this is my like this is the company I grew up in. Like this is what I did. Like they're gonna cheer me no matter what. And I remember after that because like I came out to just like the stalest of reactions.
Sure.
Because I don't think I was on Impact yet, or if I was just like a fledgling and just starting out, and no one really knew who I was. And like in that room, like you stuff people in that room, man, and it gets hot, and like you're sweating, and just like I remember going with him, and just the atmosphere of that room of like becoming very quickly like, oh no, like. This dude's fucking bad, and to build those emotions of those people. But yeah, like I didn't even think about that, like from your point of view of, you know, I told you like, listen, like I do 8 to 12. Like, what the fuck are you putting me in for 30 minutes? Like,
yeah.
But you know, and then this thing like I was talking about with Eddie is just, you know, I can do that shit. I can go, you know, these 30, 40-minute matches. I did 45 minutes for MLW's War Games easily. Yeah. And it's just like reminding yourself that you can fucking do those things is important.
And honestly, whenever I talk about like, and I bring up what are the best matches in Crossbody and I ask fans what they are, like that match constantly comes up. And so that's one of those situations where like that makes me even prouder, because like when you realize I came out to nothing, you know, Speedball had the same situation. Like when he first wrestled for us, like nobody knew who he was. And then next thing you know, like you just see literal minds explode. And I think that was something similar that happened to you, because that like you're still one of the most requested guests that we get back. When I put out this podcast and I asked who people wanted to see on it, one of the most requested guests that people were putting down was you. So I think people are going to be quite happy when they see the episode too, that you're up there.
It only cost me Holden's front teeth and almost the life of one of your refs. But we
fucking poor Jimmy got stabbed in the fucking neck, and that was a legitimate thing. Had a hole in his
So to explain the situation to the fans that don't know what we're talking about.
So for the fans that don't know, yes, and I'm gonna preface this by saying, please go watch us on Independent Wrestling TV, because all of the more you watch on Independent Wrestling TV this month, we're giving all of that money, 100% of the proceeds that we make from Independent Wrestling TV this month. The 2 shirts that we literally just dropped on Pro Wrestling Tees in support of Black Lives Matter, Justin Sane's T-shirt that we've just released, the Crossbody shirt, the Showcase shirt, my shirt, Crystal Moon shirt, Mr. Atlantis. There's a bunch of people that have offered their shirts for the month of June. 100% of that proceeds are going to be going to blacklivesmatter.ca, which is a group that Justin Sane, Blake 182, and the Suplex Shogun, who just recently got an Impact Wrestling contract through the gut check process, who's my boy. Love him to death. You're going to fucking love this guy. But they're three of my prominent stars that work on our roster that are black. And when I realized that this was a situation that was happening and this was something that I wanted to do, I realized that I wanted to do something, but for me to try to figure out anything was wrong. Like that's not my lane. So I just messaged those guys and was like, hey, listen, like this is I want to help. But like how? Like this is my idea. Maybe a shirt that maybe can you guys like come up with the design? So like they all kind of collaborated on a really cool design that you can now see on ProWrestlingTees.com/crossbody pro wrestling. There's the white version, and then there's a black on black version. It's a project that we're all very proud of, and obviously not just for the month of June, but like all of those shirt sales are going to blacklivesmatter.ca because that's what they chose.
Message me when we're done with this. Let's get throw up one of my designs and add it into that if you want.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. Now, speaking of which, where can we find you on social media and Pro Wrestling Tees?
I'm ProWrestlingTees.com/Madman Fulton. I have 3 designs up there. I don't think any. I think I took all my OVE ones down. And then I also have a really, really dope design on a website called bootandheel.com. They're up and coming. The guy's still learning a lot about marketing and stuff. So I'm trying to help him out by getting his name out there. But like, it's hard for me to post stuff because he doesn't push his own company. But he's got one of the coolest design shirts for me ever. And like I have to order bulk shirts from him when wrestling comes back to life to sell on my own because I love him that much.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, like, you know, and my shirt sales from there, like, I haven't really been pushing it just because, you know, I feel a lot of people are hurting through this, you know, coronavirus stuff, and it's just, you know, I want to be able to contribute and throw out, but at the same time, like without wrestling, times get tough. Like
100%, man.
It was my only job, and all of a sudden I can't do it. So, you know, I'm not trying to make excuses for myself. It's just we keep working, we keep moving on.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm also on. I have a Facebook page under Madman Fulton, a fan page. I try to keep up with it, but honestly, it falls to the wayside a lot. If you really want to catch up with me, my Twitter and my Instagram are both at Fulton World. And I love responding to messages. I love reaching out to fans and stuff. You know, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Like,
hell yeah, man.
I grew up watching wrestling and being a fan, and like, you know, I'm not going to respond to everything. And if you video call me, like, I'm gonna deny you. Like, I'm sorry.
Is that a thing that happens?
All the time.
Oh,
constantly.
Fuck, that's weird.
But, you know, like, I try to keep up. If you guys have questions or anything you want to ask or podcasts that you'd like me to go talk to you, like, you know, message me. Like, I always try to keep up with that kind of stuff.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, I feel like social media definitely takes a lot out of you, but at the same time, you can do a ton of good and reach a lot of people, you know, so.
100%. And, you know, like, the funny thing is even just little projects like this, man, especially during times like this, like I was wondering whether or not doing a podcast right now was the right idea, but you know what? People need something different to see than the news, and people need something to be entertained by. And like, the funny thing is like, I was only planning for these shows to be about 40 minutes to 60 minutes. I think we're at about 2.5 hours right now and couldn't care less. I think this has been one of the most fascinating conversations, and I will dare anybody to fucking go and find a more in-depth and better Madman Fulton interview, I think, than what we've done here right now.
I think the only problem with this format of podcast is that, like, I want to keep talking. Like, I just want to keep, like, I'm now pleasantly buzzed.
Yeah.
I'm ready to keep speaking. And it's like, no, like, I don't even want to listen to myself talk for longer than we have been. But, you know, like even you were talking, you brought up Eddie Kingston. I'm like, I'm the fucking Eddie Kingston story. It's like,
I know,
but we're running low on time, so.
But you know what? It gives us more ammo to do this again, which is we are going to do this again because again, I can talk to you all fucking day, like days on days on days about all this stuff. But that is going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Big Ben and Friends podcast. Now, I do have a laundry list of things I just need to put over real quick before we completely wrap this up. You can find this show on Twitter and Instagram at Big Ben AF Podcast, as well as on Facebook under the name Big Ben and Friends Podcast. You can find us on YouTube by searching the show name, just because we don't have enough subscribers yet to have an actual show channel name. So if you could go to subscribe to that, that would be very lovely of you, and I would appreciate that. So hopefully we can get an actual .com/whatever the fuck, you know. You can also find the audio version of this show on Anchor, which distributes the show to Spotify and iTunes for me. So if you searched on those platforms, you'll be able to find those as well. You can find me personally on all my social media platforms at Big Ben is Angry. You can find the CBPW and Crossbody Pro Wrestling Academy socials at CBPW Academy. And then you can subscribe to the Crossbody YouTube channel page at youtube.com/Crossbody Pro Wrestling Academy. And lastly, you can find us on independentwrestling.tv using the code Crossbody to get 5 free days. And you know what? Sorry, that wasn't last. You can support Crossbody and all of our amazing wrestlers by heading over to prowrestlingtees.com/Crossbody Pro Wrestling, where all of the proceeds of those shirts get split between the wrestler and our incredibly hardworking production staff, rather. But like I was mentioning before, we've released those 2 versions of the special Black Lives Matter designed collaborative shirts by Justin Sane, Shogun, and Blake 182. And we are donating 100% of the proceeds of those shirt sales, as well as 100% of the proceeds of the numerous other shirts, including, mine, the Crossbody ones, Crystal Moon, Atlantis, and many, many more, all being donated to www.blacklivesmatter.ca. Which is, again, a group chosen by Justin, Shogun, and Blake as to where those funds are going to be allocated. Do you got any final comments, my man?
No, man. Like, I think we pushed a lot. And, you know, I think the biggest thing right now is there's just a ton going on with the world, and just be out there, be safe, and, you know, be ready, because wrestling's coming back. And, you know, we're going to come back with a force.
Fucking right. And when it does, you and me are fucking fighting.
What? You want to go, son?
Dude.
Drinking the whole bottle of vodka. I'm fucking feeling froggy.
I'm ready to go. And I'm telling you straight up that not only do I want to fight you on my turf, but I definitely, like I said before, I need a TV match before I go. And if that's you on Impact, I will fucking fight the shit out of you, bro.
That's what I want.
I would love that, man. Again, thank you, everybody, for tuning into this week's episode. Thank you very much to Madman Fulton for being a part of this, guys. And we will see you next week.